Hey again, it's great to have you back. We're gonna get some practice in. So we've told you what peer support is, and we've given you some tips on how to do it. By this point, you'll understand empathy, how to be an active listener, how to know your limits, and how to look after yourself when you're supporting someone else. Now we're going to give you examples of how these apply in real life. We'll never be able to cover every scenario that might happen, and everyone develops their own way of doing things. But it's helpful to hear of some ways in which you could respond to people, and what is helpful and what might not be so helpful. So here we go. Let's start with Layla. Layla tells you that she's really worried about her schoolwork. She feels like she's behind. She doesn't think she'll catch up, and she's distracted and finding it hard to concentrate because her parents are always arguing at home, and she's worried about what might happen. Let's go through some possible responses that you might say to Layla. The first response: don't worry about it. I'm sure you'll be able to catch up. You'll be fine. This isn't very empathetic. They're worried, and by saying you'll be fine, you're going against their feelings. You're telling them how to behave and feel. This could make someone feel like they're not being heard and that you're dismissing their feelings. You're also bringing in your own judgments and assumptions about them being able to complete their work. They might not be able to do the work. The second response: okay, let me help. What stage of algebra are you at? Again, this isn't very empathetic. It moves the conversation away from feeling and towards solution. It's also a closed question, so isn't going to support someone to open up and tell you about their feelings. Rather than jump into the specific detail, it's better to keep the conversation open. The third response: you should really focus on your schoolwork. Maybe find a library to study in after school away from your parents. This statement focuses on giving advice. It's almost like you're telling them what to do. Telling someone to focus on their schoolwork is also judging them. It's also assuming that schoolwork is a problem when it might be a bigger problem with their parents that they're just starting to open up to you about. The fourth response: that sounds terrible. It sounds like you've had a horrible week. I'm sorry to hear about that. This language is a bit too sympathetic. By using words like terrible, it's also using language which is stronger than Layla has used. By responding so dramatically, it risks actually making someone feel like maybe this is terrible. The fifth response: it sounds like things are really tough for you at the moment. How are you feeling? This is a much better response. It starts with an empathetic statement that acknowledges Layla's feelings and asks her a nice, open question that invites her to talk more. Okay, let's try another one. Craig has started messaging you. He tells you that he's been self-harming and feels anxious. He's being bullied and doesn't know what to do. So, let's work through our active listening oars. We can start by asking Craig an open question. Maybe we could say, I'm really glad you're sharing this. How are you feeling today? Or, it sounds like you're going through a really tough time at the moment. Do you want to tell me a bit more about how you've been feeling? Craig might tell us a bit more. Perhaps he says he started harming himself a couple of months ago and he wishes he could stop, but he can't now, and he's scared to tell anyone, and he's embarrassed to tell his mom about the bullying. Maybe we could use our affirmation and summarize here. We can let Craig know that we hear how difficult he's finding this, perhaps by saying something like, it sounds like you're having such a hard time. It must really be hard to be bullied, and you've been trying to cope, but finding it hard. This is a mix of affirmation by saying, we hear how difficult it is, and reflecting back to Craig what he's told you. You could ask some more open questions to encourage Craig to talk more. Something like, it sounds like you find it hard to talk about this. I think you're brave for talking to me about it. What do you imagine would happen if you talked to your mom? You could also say, being bullied sounds like it's really painful for you, and it's been going on for a while. It sounds like you would like to feel able to talk to your mom about what's going on, but you're worried what she might say. Is that right? There are no rights or wrongs with this. Each time you send a message or respond, just think back to your oars. Are you using open questions? Are you summarizing, reflecting, and affirming what's being said? Are you making sure you don't give advice or judge someone? Okay, here's one more that's slightly different. Justine. Justine comes to you because she's feeling alone and has just had a big fight with her boyfriend, and she feels angry and upset. She tells you, I'm so fucking angry right now. I can't do this anymore. You could say, I hear that you're feeling really angry. It sounds like you've got to a point where you don't feel like you can do it anymore. Can you tell me a bit more about how you feel? Or can you tell me some more about what happened? It sounds like it's making you feel really angry. Now, we know that Justine is really angry. She might come back and say, what the fuck do you know? You're shit just like the rest of them. I may as well just kill myself. You don't care, no one cares. Ouch. That really hurt, right? You don't have to put up with anyone talking to you in such an aggressive tone, and we would advise you to end the conversation. You could say, I hear that you're angry, but I'm here as a volunteer and do not want to be spoken to in that way. I'm going to end this conversation now. If you need support, please look back at the resources in the I Need Help section. Or, if you want, you could offer to continue the conversation, but only if Justine agrees not to abuse you and is in the right frame of mind to receive support. If not, perhaps you might want to have a conversation at a later date when she feels calmer. These are just a couple of examples that hopefully give you some ideas on the kind of things that you might say to people. But always remember, the most powerful thing about supporting someone else is being another human being who cares enough about someone to want to be there and try to help. Techniques, like oars, are really helpful, but they're just techniques. If we become too focused on techniques, we risk sounding like robots. Really, we're people, and our natural ability to care about someone and to want to help support is a really awesome thing. So that concludes our training sessions on peer support. I really hope that you've learned some really valuable lessons and that you can take it with you beyond Talk Life and with your family and friends. Keep being awesome, and we'll talk to you later.